Welcome, everyone. You've just stepped into a sacred space where purpose meets preparation, where we come together to strengthen not just skills, but spirit, character, and legacy. Here inside the huddle in Mom's locker room of legacy, we go beyond the scoreboard. We speak life into vision. We nurture identity, fuel growth, and equip families with tools to thrive, on and off the field. This isn't just a workshop, it's a movement, a God-led playbook for legacy building, financial wisdom, emotional strength, and spiritual alignment. Disclaimer: the content provided in this video is for educational and inspirational purposes only and should not be construed as legal, financial, medical, or psychological advice. By watching this video, you voluntarily release moms, mothers of motivated sons. It had to happen, ETM, Dr. Erica Wilson, all facilitators, affiliates, and contributors from any and all liability. All content, including audio, video, graphics, presentations, workshop materials, and commentary, is the exclusive property of Moms and It Had to Happen, TM. Unauthorized reproduction, recording, distribution, or use of any portion of this content is strictly prohibited without express written consent. This video may contain copyrighted material not specifically authorized by the copyright owner. Such content is used under the provisions of the Fair Use Act for purposes such as education, commentary, and nonprofit awareness. We do not claim ownership of third-party content used under fair use. If you are the copyright owner and have concerns, please contact us directly for resolution. Thank you for supporting Moms, mothers of motivated sons, where faith meets the field and legacy lives beyond the game. So lace up, lean in, and get ready to join the huddle where every voice matters, every journey is honored, and victory starts within. Let's go. Please be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, Mothers of Motivated Sons.
All right. Happy Thursday. Thank you all for joining the huddle. Listen, inside Mom's locker room of legacy. And tonight we have our mental health champion. And I'm going to bring her in the room. Heavyweight champion, Miss Ebony. Mrs. First of all, stop. She's in the building. Welcome. All right. And then we have our other heavyweight champion, Miss Jasmine White. Welcome. And then we have Mr. First of all, himself. Welcome.
Hold on.
How's everyone doing on this Thursday night, y'all? This week is almost to an end already.
Awesome. Doing great on this Thursday. The week almost over with.
This month almost over with. That's
yes.
Oh my God. Oh, so our topic tonight is emotional hygiene, caring for your inner self. But before we bring on our heavyweight champion and before she bring out her playbook, we're going to ask Jasmine to take us before the throne of grace. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus.
Ooh, what a blessing to be here once again in this beautiful huddle that we are in, Lord. Father God, we come to you as humbly as we can to first say thank you. Thank you for a new day, new mercies, and new blessings, Lord. Thank you for allowing us to be back in the huddle once again. Thank you for allowing Ebony to be here to be able to share her wisdom, her expertise with us tonight, Lord. I ask that you help it to edify our spirits and to help us to be able to go out and motivate others with this information. Father God, I ask that you allow the guests that are to come tonight, allow them to be filled with the information that she's going to share. Also, Lord, if there is a need in their life that they need provided, Lord, I ask that you provide that need tonight. Lord, thank you for another opportunity for fellowship. We are grateful. We love you. We praise you and we appreciate you. In your son's name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Oh my God, we have another heavyweight champion in the building, Miss Naomi Adet. We're showing up tonight, y'all. That's what I'm talking about. Oh my God. So welcome everyone. Eb, come on and bring out that playbook. Eb is Mrs. First of all.
It is a name that is, oh my goodness. Listen, I gotta live up to the hype, and I'm not, but we're gonna do it, right? Because it's just something to go behind Mr. First of all, but I'm gonna do it. Hello, everybody, all you people. I'm Ebony Stirrup. I am a therapist, and I am also the mental health champion for Mothers of Motivated Sons. It is always a pleasure to be here and to have these conversations and do these workshops and just partake in such loving people and network. It's like family. So I love being a part of it, and I hope that what I bring to you guys today you can take with you and you can make life changes, because that's what's important. It's about making life changes. Typically I approach it as a workshop. We kind of just, have the PowerPoint, we have the slides, we go through it. But today I want to just have conversation. I want to just, talk about caring for yourself, because we don't do it very often. Right. Okay. So before we get started, just remember that this is a safe and sacred space where we're going to talk about emotional hygiene, what it is, why it matters, and how to take better care of your inner self, right? Especially if you're part of the Black and Brown community or you're an athlete. The conversation is for you. This is the conversation that you want to be a part of, okay? So it's going to be pretty interactive. I'm going to ask you to make some statements in the chat, but also have your notebook next to you. Keep your journal, because this is for you. This is for your change. This is for you to do self-awareness and self-check. You know what I mean? If you don't even mention anything in the chat, that's okay, as long as you are talking to yourself. And when you get off of this workshop, that you'll be able to look back and reflect on some things as we go on. Okay. So the first thing that I want to ask is, what emotion have you been carrying lately but haven't said out loud? What emotion have you been carrying lately but you haven't said out loud? You can drop one word in the chat, or you can just put it in your journal. You don't even have to put it if you don't want to share it. But if you're comfortable enough to throw it in the chat, please do. But I want you to reflect on that. What emotion have you been carrying lately but haven't said it out loud? And this is your first step in emotional hygiene, naming what's going on inside. Okay? It's not real until you say it. It's not, you're not in understanding or embracing it until you have seen it in front of you. Okay? In your head, you could be in denial. Oh man, my leg hurt. No, it don't. I'm good. You can psych yourself out of things, or that hurt my feelings. No, it didn't. Right? Like, you can kind of just tell yourself that something doesn't exist. But when we're putting it out there, when we say it, it makes it real. Now, as a Christian, they tell you to watch what you put out in the atmosphere. Okay. And I truly do believe that we have to be very mindful of what we say and what we put out in the atmosphere. But we also want to live in our truth and understand that something exists, right? So if someone says that I am, let me see, I'm heavy. I'm just heavy. I've been heavy lately, right? I can acknowledge that, but still speak life into myself, right? Because if I don't know to say that I'm heavy, what do I change? If I can't mention it, how do I know to change it? Right. So even in our repentance, when we come to Christ and it's like, oh God, I'm so sorry I sinned, and this is what I did, and right, I'm speaking it out there. I'm not claiming nothing, but I am living in a truth and acknowledging that I see the need for a change. Okay. So it becomes very important with emotional hygiene that you name what's going on inside. Okay. So now, what is emotional hygiene? Emotional hygiene means that we're checking in with our mental and our emotional health daily, not just when everything is falling apart. Okay. And we good for that. We good for not acknowledging anything until all the bricks are on the floor, right? And then we want to cry and scream and have whatever we got going on, right? But it is the act of you checking in on your mental health and your emotional self daily. Okay. It's just like brushing your teeth or showering. It's something you do regularly so that you could prevent buildup or prevent smells, right? We do that daily. Now I hope we do it daily. I'll say that, right? Because some people may skip, I don't know, right? No judgment. Some people skip certain things. Some people skip baths. Some people skip, brushing their teeth. There's no judgment. But you would hope that you would do it daily. Okay. And we're told to do it daily because of prevention, right? And in some cases, like, you go to the dentist, they tell you to brush your teeth more than once a day, right? So this is just like personal hygiene, but just for your emotional self. Okay. So some examples would be processing rejection so that it doesn't turn into resentment, right? Or saying no before a burnout hits, or letting yourself cry without apologizing. That would be what emotional hygiene looks like, right? But how do I know? How do I know that I need to say no if I'm not naming the emotion? So this is why that exercise is so important, because how do I know too much is too much? I'm not gonna say a name, but someone said overwhelmed in the chat. How do I know I'm overwhelmed if I don't announce to myself I'm overwhelmed? Right? Because I could be in denial. Or better yet, maybe I'm not recognizing it. So I have to say it. And the crazy part is, we don't know to say it unless we take time with ourselves and we reflect. So we have to give ourselves this moment where we're like, hey girl, you good? Right? There's this TikTok that I think it's the cutest, and I always say I want to do it with my daughter. And it's some song, I don't even know it. It sounds like a really ratchet song. I don't know. But part of the song, the girl like, is you cool? Is you cool? Like, you got to ask yourself, like, am I cool? Like, am I okay? Right? But that's daily hygiene. So a lot of the times I tell my clients, hey, stand in the mirror. When you brushing your teeth, when you're doing your hair, when you putting on your lashes, when you doing your makeup, take a second to say, are you okay today? Did you sleep good? It's not talking to yourself. It's just checking on you. Give yourself an opportunity to say, you know what? I'm not. I woke up and I'm tired. Because once I can admit that I am tired, I know that if 6 people call me today, I'm going to tell you, no, I can't do it. I'm sorry, not today, tomorrow, because I'm tired. I don't have it in me, right? So I can actually then show up for my emotional self. Okay. Now, so here's the thing. We oftentimes get emotions and feelings mixed up, right? So what's the difference, right? Let me clear some things up, because that's tricky. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, we mix it together. Like, we kind of make it one thing. We're talking about emotions, but we're expressing feelings. And then it's talking about feelings, but we're expressing emotion, right? So what is the difference? Emotions are are physical and they're fast, right? So for example, anger, fear, surprise, that's an emotion. Okay. But our feelings, right? That's how we interpret those emotions. Okay. So hurt, shame, anxiety, that would be a feeling because that is how we interpret emotion. All right. So they work together. They walk in side by side, but they are not one. And oftentimes we speak as if they're one. Okay. So that is the difference, right? And knowing the difference, it helps us to manage our reactions and respond with clarity instead of chaos. I hear a lot of people talk about being reactive or responding. And a lot of the times when people are expressing it, we kind of get it mixed up. It is better to respond than to react. Your goal is to always be responsive, not reactive. Because if we're reactive, we're not in control of that because that's quick. That's our emotion. Boom. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm pissed. Boom. I'm going at you. Right? My response comes with thinking. It comes with control. So that's where I'm managing it. Right? And so when we are aware of this person brought this emotion about that created this feeling, and I didn't like it. Let me process that. Let me think about that. How do I want to respond to this? And then you respond. So sometimes it don't look like doing it right then and there. Sometimes it looks like giving yourself space and thinking and processing, right? So I got a question for you, and I want you, and these are things that you don't necessarily have to answer right now. Let me make that very clear. You can just write the question and use them for your own prompts later to journal and be reflective, okay? But I do want you to think, when's the last time your feelings got louder than the facts? When's the last time that your feelings got louder than the facts? Okay? People don't like to hear this. But I have to sometimes just break the mold and hurt some people's little feelings, right? And let you know that your feelings are lies. There is no truth to your feelings. Okay? That don't make them invalid. It doesn't make it invalid, but it's not true. Okay? So if I stub my toe on the side of the bed, the first thing I may say is, oh my God, I feel like my toe is about to fall off. But if I look at my toe, guess what? It's still there. It ain't going nowhere. That feeling is a lie. Okay? It is my interpretation of what I am having as an emotion. Does that make sense? So I'm not feeling truth because it's what I interpret, which is why when we all experience one thing together, we're all having different experiences. So everybody is going to feel different about it. When you go to church and your pastor says something, it's 100 people in the church. Everybody feel different. Some people feel good. Yeah, pastor, amen. Somebody else going, you ain't have to do that. Like, it's just a feeling, right? We all have our own feel because we're experiencing it differently. And it is our interpretation. And that interpretation comes from our experiences. Right? So hit dogs holler. If it hurt, it hurt. But if I ain't never did it, it ain't hurting me. So I don't have no feeling about it. Okay? So this is what we have to understand about the differences of emotions and feelings. All right. Now, we are injured. Our emotions get injured. Okay? It can be injured through trauma. or it could just be injured through experiences. But before I get there, somebody got a question. And I wanna have this as conversation. So I'm gonna stop in between and go ahead and answer your question. Go ahead.
Okay. Repeat that, the last part when you said about hit dog holler.
That if you've never experienced it, it's not gonna bother you. If
Mhm.
if it's you, then you're gonna feel it. That's why your feeling is different as an interpretation. So if I say, you know, I don't know, because I try not to be judgmental with my comments, but if I say something like, you know, if you have so many boyfriends, you fast tell, right? Somebody who done had a lot of boyfriends are going to interpret that a certain way, and they're going to feel a certain way.
Okay.
But if I only had one boyfriend all my life, I never, you know, hey, or I never had a boyfriend before, that don't bother me, because I'm not in that. I'm not in that space, right? So, and we see that a lot with social media. It's like that's why we can be so argumentative through the comment sections, because my experience is different than your experience. So I'm like, girl, why you all upset about that? Like, you know, I was just making a statement. Meanwhile, the person who is upset has lived it. So in that moment, they're feeling judged or feeling this or feeling that. And so that is, and they're reacting because they feel.
So would you say that how do you say? Would you say that that should make you change who you are? If you know that it's not intentional or directed to anyone, should you kind of change what it is that you're doing?
So that's where it comes with the whole not being reactive and being responsive instead, right? Because in the moment, I don't know that it's not personal. I don't know that you're not being intentional. I just, because I read it and my feelings hit first, I took it personal. So there's this moment where I have to process so that I'm not taking it personal anymore.
Okay.
And then I can respond. And that's either respond to you or respond with change. But either way, that's a response.
So would that mean a hit dog holler?
That does mean a hit dog holler, because I'm a holler. It's not a hit dog holler is not a negative thing. I think we say it like that when we say, oh, a hit dog holler. We you know, it may come off negative, but it just means you find yourself in that situation. And if you find yourself in there, guess what you're gonna do? You're gonna defend yourself, because you don't want to be perceived as what people are in the moment stating. So of course I'm a holler.
Yeah.
You know?
I just want to put that out there because some people won't see it as that. You know what I'm saying? So I put up a post, Jasmine. I put up a post the other day, and I was saying about sometimes, I guess the wounds that we have. If somebody come by and trigger that, the only way they could trigger that if that wound is there.
Yes.
They can't trigger something that's not there.
Yes, if you heal, it won't bother.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, Jasmine.
And before you go, I'm glad that you put that out there, Ash. I mean, I'm talking Ed, when you said that it's not a negative thing, because that's another thing. We take things so personal and just think about it as being so negative. And
that's our emotions, and that's why we have to care for our emotions. And we're going to get to that in a second. Go ahead, Jasmine, with your question.
I'm loving this already. Like, this is powerful. Something just popped in my head that I noticed, like, just say I'm going to use an example. Some people dealing with domestic violence situations, they'll say, oh, she should have left. Okay, well, one, like you said, that's not your situation. So it's hard to, like, I'm not gonna say pass judgment or to even give an opinion on different situations, especially like that, because we don't know everything about that situation. Maybe that person tried to leave several times.
Right.
Maybe it was a lot that went in. And so I can say that definitely the comment section is dangerous. One. And two, there does have to be compassion sometimes when it comes to people's situations, because we don't know. And I feel like we all have different shoes that we are specifically wear.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you sharing that, because that just kind of made me think. And I think if the world would realize that part,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and we might be better.
Yeah, of course. And so here's the thing: people who have emotions, they're not weird. There's nothing wrong with them. Like, having an emotion is great. As a matter of fact, I'm a very emotional person. I think it comes with, some people would call it my zodiac, right? Because I'm a Cancer, so people are like, oh, you're emotional. But I'm very empathetic. I can feel that God created me in that space. And I think that's why I do the job that I do, because I'm able to feel. But it also becomes too much at times, right? Because you don't want to feel everything, right? But again, there's nothing wrong with having emotion. And so the people who lack, because there are people who lack emotion, those people tend to not consider individuals who are emotional, and they make statements that are absent of emotion, right? And so this is similar to what Jasmine just mentioned about, like, oh, someone will say you should have left, right? Like, that's absent of emotion. Even if that's a true statement logically, I have to consider the emotions of an individual who is experiencing that. And so a person who's just speaking true could still be dead wrong. You have to acknowledge that an emotion can come from that when you speak, right? And so you can't just say, well, I was just telling the truth. I'm just stating facts. You know what I mean? Because that creates emotional injuries for people, right? So I'm happy that Jasmine said that, because that took me to my next space, right? So let's talk about some common emotional injuries. Okay.
Ooh, not what you say, it's how you say it.
It's how you say it. That's important. Okay. That is super important. I think listen, as we get older and as we're moving into, I don't even know how to explain society that we live in right now. It's very, I don't even know. A lot of the times I make jokes like, I needed to be living in the 80s and the 70s. Like, just let me have been an adult during that time. And like, because it's cutthroat now. And no one necessarily cares about how things are said. They just want to talk. They talk too much. And they don't realize the wounds that they create when they're speaking. And sometimes they don't realize it until it's too late. And then some of them just don't care, right? They have no regard, and it doesn't matter to them unless it's them. That's like, if they getting cut up with words, then it's a problem. But if they're cutting someone, they don't really care. But part of emotional hygiene is, if I can take care of my own emotion and recognize my own injuries and the things that I have, I'm more mindful of what I'm gonna say and what I do to other people. So if someone is cutting you with words, it's probably because they don't even know that they have injuries themselves.
Exactly.
Right. And so when we talk about, what they say, hurt people, that's a thing, that there's truth to that statement. Or better yet, people bleed on people. So, I'm walking around with a bunch of injuries that I don't even know about, so I can't even take care of them in the first place, because why? I'm not daily taking care of myself. So I don't know it exists in the first place, and I'm just bleeding all over individuals, and I'm creating wounds for them. So no, we just all walking around bleeding all over the place, right? The difference is that a person who cares for their emotional hygiene can catch it. Or better yet, they prevent it. So when someone comes to cut, it ain't working, because they've taken care of themselves enough that it does not affect. So think about someone with their teeth. If I'm not brushing and I'm not flossing and I'm not doing all these different things, right, then my mouth bleeds, I get gingivitis, all these different things happen to myself. But if I'm caring for myself, then when the bacteria and the plaque and all that comes to wreak havoc and do what it needs to do, it ain't gonna do it. Why? Because I've created a barrier with all of the different things that I've done with my hygiene so that that's not affected. And it's the same thing if I'm affirming myself, if I'm, you know, reflecting and journaling, if I'm conscious of what I feel, then when someone comes to hurt me and create these emotional injuries, guess what? What was meant to do something doesn't do it. So that's why it's important that we can care for ourselves, right? So let's talk about the emotional scrapes that we often ignore. I'm just going to list some because there's a lot, okay? But some common emotional injuries looks like rejection, failure, shame is another one, betrayal, loneliness, comparison is another one, burnout is another one, and microaggression and racism is a big one too, right? So we experience all of these emotional injuries and they come from all different spaces. They come from work, they come from family, they come from relationships, they come from people we don't know, right? They just come. It can come from anybody. So what are some ways for us to heal, right? So let's take rejection. If I experience the injury of rejection, then a way for me to heal would be affirming my worth, right? And making sure that I understand how important I am, not to other people, but to myself. You know, being able to identify that I matter even if no one can see that. Okay. So that would be one way to heal through rejection or from rejection. Shame, I might share my story with someone safe. So we got to learn how we can't tell everybody everything. It's not meant. Even if it is a testimony, you got to know who you giving your testimony to, right? So it will be with the safest person who you know is going to receive it and not try to run with it and tell they story, they version, right? So, you know, but the shame comes from talking to just anybody because you don't know what you're going to get. Okay. So a way to heal would be to make sure that you're talking to someone safe. When you talk to someone safe, they know how to approach the story. They know what to say to provide comfort, or even if they are reprimanding you in your story, the way, because I saw someone in the chat say tone is important. Their tone in their reprimand is not, you know, condemning. Therefore, it doesn't create shame. Okay. If we're doing burnout, right? If we have the injury of burnout, we step back. That's how we heal. We take a breath. We reevaluate. We create some boundaries. Okay. And of course, you know, I mentioned microaggression because we tend to find ourselves experiencing that more so. It just, Lord Jesus, everywhere we experience it, right? So to heal from that, you validate your experiences and you don't minimize it. Just because someone else does not see that experience the way you do does not mean it didn't happen. Okay. And so you just got to remind yourself that this is your truth. Now, just because you see it happening a certain way does not validate you acting up. You still got to know how to respond, but it doesn't mean it didn't happen. And that's what we mess up. We feel what we feel. It happened how I saw it happen. Therefore, I'm going to cut up the way I want to cut up. And we want to feel justified in that. And you're not justified. But you are, your experience is still your experience. So we don't minimize the experience, but you're not justified in reacting. So that becomes the other side of that. Okay. All right. Here's another reflection prompt. So write it down. If you want to respond in the chat, by all means do so, but this is just for you. Which of these injuries shows up for you the most? Which of the ones that I listed shows up for you the most? So I mentioned rejection, failure, shame, betrayal, loneliness, comparison, burnout. Which one of these show up for you the most? And remember, I'm asking these questions not for myself. This is a reflective time for you. This is a moment where you can acknowledge maybe you never really sat down and thought about it. And maybe you were, in denial that that existed. Maybe you thought that you were over it. Maybe you thought that you had rejection and it didn't hit. It don't hit like it used to, but it still do hit, and that's why you act the way you act, right? So these are, this is just for you to self-check yourself. Okay. All right. So now we're just going to move into the experience that most of us, I'm sure, who's watching, experience because we find ourselves in this category, which is what we call the BIPOC community, right? Our Black and brown, people of color, Hispanic, whatever, right? Life is different for us and our experiences were different. And so emotional hygiene and knowing it and understanding it and experiencing it, guess what? That was also different, right? For many of us in our community, we weren't raised with a space to feel, right? No one told you it was okay to have feelings. You know what I mean? They tell you that what you're talking about, right? You hear people tell you toughen up. You hear people tell you don't cry. You tell people to handle it, right? Be strong, right? These are things that we heard. So if we heard that, guess what? That means that feelings didn't exist. You weren't allowed to feel tired and overwhelmed and worn out. You weren't allowed to feel like this is too much. You weren't allowed to feel that, right? You weren't allowed to acknowledge that that exists, okay? And so because of that, we find ourselves not being able to have good hygiene. Because how do I know to take care of something that I don't know is a problem? If nobody told me that you're not supposed to have gingivitis, I wouldn't care for gingivitis because I don't know I'm not supposed to have it in the first place. I don't know what it looks like. I just know I'm sitting here saying, oh, my gums are bleeding, and somebody telling me, you'll be all right, just wipe it off. Just you got to keep talking. Oh, my tooth is falling out. That's okay. Push it back in there. Keep it moving, right? And I don't know that I'm not supposed to feel this hurt. I don't know that I'm not supposed to have blood coming out of me. I don't know that. So I don't know to take care of it, right? And that's what our community has ultimately created. Now, I applaud the new generation of parenting because we are tapping into understanding how to care for ourselves better, but we got a long way because there's a lot that we still don't understand. We just know that we don't like the way it was done with us. So we're trying to do something different, right? But this is the experience, right? And so while those messages of toughen up and don't cry and handle it helped us to survive as a people, they didn't teach us how to heal. And so a lot of people are still broken. A lot of people are still bleeding and they have open wounds. And they've been carrying open wounds for a long, long, long time. And guess what happens when you don't care for a wound? It gets infected. And when it's infected, guess what happens? You lose things, right? So if I don't take care of something, or if I get injured and I don't take care of my leg after it's been injured, I could lose my leg. They have to cut my leg off. If I don't take care of my finger and it's got infected, I could lose my finger. You go get your lashes done and you get your eyes all swollen up and it get pussy and you don't take care of that, you go blind. So having an infection, that leads to a very, very bad thing, right? But guess what? If I care for the wound, I heal. And emotional hygiene is you caring for the wounds. It's not just preventative, but it's also you caring for the wounds that are there, that exist, so that you can heal. Okay? Now, let's move over to our athletes, right? Athletes are praised for being mentally strong, but they often punished for being emotionally honest. And that is the truth. Don't nobody want to hear about how you feel when you're an athlete. Go out there and do your job. I don't care about how you felt when I said this to you as a coach. Stop being so soft, right? So when your identity is tied to performance, you can lose sight of who you are off the field. And that's big. We don't want to lose who we are because we're not going to be on the field forever. At some point, that's going to go away and you're going to have to continue to live. But you're going to be living with all the trauma and all the hurt that came from telling you to suck it up, stay focused, do what you got to do. Okay? So mental toughness, there's nothing wrong with having mental toughness, but it should include emotional awareness. I should know that something exists. I should know that this does not feel good to me. I should know when something is too much for me. And if I don't know that, my performance is, I can harm myself. And this is, in most recent times since COVID, we've seen people really take this stuff serious when it comes to athletes, because this stuff leads to, if I'm not caring for myself mentally and emotionally, it can lead to injuries. I remember watching something on, I think it was Netflix, about Simone Biles. She had this documentary out, and it was basically about how she decided to step down from the Olympics that year. She decided not to do it. She went, and she explains it as she was there and she was warming up. She was doing her whatever she do, and she kind of froze in one of them because she just mentally wasn't in the best headspace. And then she decided in that moment she was going to not do the Olympics. And she said that she decided to do that because if she had done it in the mental space that she was in, she would have hurt herself because her mind would not have been on hitting that mark. So she could have fell off the beam and broke her neck had she been in not a good mental space. But you got people, it's money. What you talking about? We got to do this, or you got to show up for the USA. So all of that pressure to be mentally strong, suck it up, work through it, don't focus on it. You could think about it when it's over, and then you could ultimately lose your life or lose your career, right? Because you've done something that leads to something that is harmful for you, right? So as an athlete, how do you handle that? What do you do? Normalize mental health check-ins, just like the physical ones. Just like you go see your doctor, you let the trainer check you, and you go all these different things. Just like you do that, you should have mental health check-ins. Whether you're checking in with yourself, whether you're checking in with a friend, or whether you're checking in with a therapist, you should be checking in on yourself mentally, right? Now, here's one that people I've noticed. I have a few athletes that I've seen. I had a professional athlete at one point that I was seeing, and he loved journal after your games. And not just about the stats, But how did it feel? How do you feel after the game? Do you feel like the weight of the world was on your shoulders and you let them down? Like, these are things that should be discussed. Why? Because who else are you telling? If you're not getting it out of you, that means that you're resting with that, you sleeping with that, you taking that, you carrying that load and that burden all the way through. Right? So these are things that you want to keep in mind. And rest. Rest is recovery, physically and emotionally. And rest is big. That's not just a physical thing. Sometimes we are mentally tired, mentally exhausted. So we have to rest. And when we rest, it cares for all parts of you, not just your physical self. Okay. So, what are some signs that you need emotional hygiene? And this is for anybody, this is not just athletes. What are some signs that you need emotional hygiene? Okay. You feel emotionally flat, right? Like in the moment, there's like, I don't have any emotion. It's just blah, right? You get irritated easily. You feel overwhelmed, but disconnected. Or you're always busy so that you could avoid thinking. Okay. So that is something to be mindful of. All right. Now, we're going to go ahead and do our question and answer. Okay. And I'm going to open the floor to that. Jasmine?
Yes, powerful. And powerful. Well, this is a comment first, then I'm gonna jump to my question. But thank you for sharing your expertise. I learned a lot, I would have to say. And also to being able to include a lot of the things that you mentioned into my own daily journey is going to be very beneficial and very helpful. There were a few questions that I wanted to ask, but um, one of the questions I can say is, I guess when it comes to mental health, and I'm trying to see how I want to word this, but when it comes to mental health, um, there's such a stigma around therapy. And especially like back in the older days where that wasn't something that was even, like, you could talk about it, but it's nothing that they want to talk about. So it wasn't done. And so a lot of the things that, because I'm a millennial, so a lot of the things that may have happened back in my mother's generation and her generation before her, it was, you're a child, you don't have feelings, you know um you need to keep moving, keep doing what you need to do, move on. It's like different little statements that are said, that as you grow into in your own adulthood, that stuff lingers, and it's painful at times. And then of course I'm a mother also, so then I had to say, hey, I do want to make these changes. I do want to, come in on a different way, to my own daughter. And so my question would be, what would you say to, just say, the generations past generations, in regards to therapy, and why is it so important for them to be able to take that step to say, I'm going to therapy?
Well, the first thing I would say is therapy works. No matter what you don't like about the idea of it, it works. How do we know it works? It works, and we know that because we see the evidence of it. And that is the first thing I would say. Of course, no one wants to hear that, and I have a lot of people, I call them my seniors, but they're not seniors. They just aged well. Who sit on my couch and they like, for what? Like, why am I here? Why am I doing this? And the first thing I ask is, who do you talk to? You need someone to talk to. What has holding in all of this done for you? How has it helped? And when you ask that question, most of them can't answer it because it hasn't helped. It hasn't helped. It has just allowed their experiences to linger, right? And once you open a gate, that floodgate, that generation, they talk more than the millennials. The millennials come in and they ain't got nothing to say. And no judgment, because I'm a millennial myself. And I got my own therapist. And when I go into talk to my therapist, a lot of it be just venting. Like I'm just coming to vent. But that generation, our parents' generation, when they do open the gate, they're trying to resolve. They're trying to resolve whatever it, because so much has existed. So I would definitely just act like, what good did it do? And if it did nothing good, then why don't we just try and see? It wouldn't be any different. It'll be the same. If it's gonna get the same result, it ain't gonna hurt you. And then you'll never have to come back. But if you feel different after you talk to me, if you learn something new after you talk to me, if you decide to make a change after you talk to me, then it's working, right? It's just like church. A lot of people didn't think that was a lot of people still don't think that that's a thing, that, like, why I gotta go? Why I gotta love God? What that's gonna do, right? Until they have the experience. So you never know until you have the experience. Now, if you have the experience and it yielded the same results prior to coming to me, then by all means, I might not even make you pay. Go ahead and go. But I know you're gonna leave happy and I'm gonna get paid. We're gonna be good. And that's that. That's why that's how I would approach that. I think we have some questions in the chat.
What are some things you would tell someone who has never had that safe space and trying to open up about how they're feeling?
I would tell them to create their own safe space. We are responsible for what we need. And then when we're able to create that for ourselves, we know what to look for with everyone else. You have no clue what you want unless you have given it to yourself first. So I would tell them to create their own safe space, because who's to say that you didn't have that safe space? How do you know it wasn't safe? You ain't never been one. You ain't never been to a safe space before. So how you know it's safe or not? Unless you created it yourself. Oftentimes, and I love that that's a question, because a lot of the times we have this idea of something because it has been created by society, it's been created by social media, it's been created by television. Someone has told us this is what the space looks like. But the reality is that if I go into that space, I might still not see that as safe. Therapy is supposed to be a safe space, but you can go to a lot of therapists and not feel safe. Mm-hmm. I have to know what that is first, because then I can decide if it's safe or not. You don't get to tell me that that's safe. Yeah. You don't get to do that. That's my experience. So I have to first create it. And because everyone's, again, no one's going to have the compassion that you have for yourself. They have the compassion, but not for you. They got it for themselves. So when you're telling the story, they're like, girl, that's not that serious. It's not that deep, but it might be that deep for you. So you need to take time with yourself and say, you know what, that really hurt me. It did. Why did it do that? Oh my goodness. And have that moment for yourself and affirm you and make yourself feel confident in that space. And then when you go to somebody else, guess what? And you tell them that, when they make those statements, you can advocate for yourself, because I already have the safe space. You're not threatening me. Mm-hmm. And you're not threatening that thought or that experience, because it's mine. And I know that because I've had time with it. So I would tell them to create their safe space.
And I was piggyback off of that. A lot of times too, you have a safe space, but perception. Yeah. We're judging the person about not what we know, about what we hear. Mm-hmm. See, so good could be right in your face. But if you're so used to being burnt, you're going to look at everybody like, okay, they're going to do it too. Yeah. They're going to do it too. And we miss out on so much because of perception.
Of course. Of course.
So much we're missing out on. And just because you're again, I can't say it enough about not what we know about a person. We're having sidebar conversations. We're questioning people about other people. Ask the person. The person can tell you who they are, or how they, they'll tell you. I hope they will, because I will, But at the end of the day, this is what's happening. You having people poisoning ears.
Yeah.
Cares about somebody else, and you're getting that perception of them now, not something that because you really probably have never experienced the person. You're going off of what you're hearing.
Yeah.
This is sometimes how we lose so much, because we're judging a book by its cover, not even giving a person an opportunity to present themselves. Because I think there are compassionate people out there, especially a hurt person who's been hurt before. They can feel they can feel, your pain. And I want to, when my kids used to get hurt, y'all, I used to feel their pain. I used to feel it myself. When Alan broke his ankle at Cowboys, that morning my ankle was hurting me so, and here it is, what to behold, boom, he went out there and cracked. The bone and everything came out the ankle. But the thing is, what we have to stop doing, protect our ear gates. Because at the end of the day and stop judging people because of what you're hearing. Because they're not going to tell you, if I'm mad with you, I'm not going to tell you the good stuff that I experienced with you. I'm going to go and try to, tell the bad stuff. And pay attention. That's all I'm going to say. Pay attention. But speak with the people. Actually have another question.
Yeah. Before you do that, let me just go a little deeper on that. In regards to this question, oftentimes a lot of people don't feel like the space is safe because of what is being said to them when they're coming with whatever they're coming. And you have to consider that people are not going to, everything that people say you're not going to like. And sometimes the stuff that's good for you don't feel good to hear, right? Because when you're not doing, that's just like when you, and I bring up church because this is, a lot of us feel this hurt in those locations. And the reality is that you're going to hear, people are going to tell you something's not right when you come to them to, release, right? Well, you shouldn't have did that. That's not right. Now you upset because the emotion and feeling that we talked about is created. You've interpreted this in this way. So now you say that's not a safe space. Well, no space will ever be safe if you can't handle people correction, right? People correcting you, right? And so that is, you have to be ready for correction. Now, again, we talked about tone and how people say things. So that's different. And I get it. People can say things and be, have like ill will and malice and things when they're doing it. But when someone is correcting you, that doesn't mean that the space isn't safe. So first, that's why I said first create your own safe space, because you got to get to the point where you can correct yourself. Right. And so if I can correct myself and I'm giving this criticism to myself, I can receive the criticism outside of there, and my safe space will have the expectation of correction. So, when people come to therapy, you come with the expectation of correction, which is why you don't feel no kind of way when the therapist tell you that wasn't right. That wasn't right. Now, if you want to go to a therapist that's telling you, yeah, you're right, you should have did that, then you need to second guess therapy, because it's gonna be correction. You're gonna be wrong for a lot of the stuff you doing, because if you was right, you wouldn't need therapy.
That's right.
Right? So we really have to understand what is a safe space. In society, social media, most importantly, has told us that safe spaces are where people agree with your craziness, when they tell you that your toxic behavior is just fine, right? So we have to understand that that's not safe. I'm not going to be coddled and cuddled and I'm not going to be patted down for everything, but there will be empathy. There will be compassion. There will be grace in the safe space.
I don't think I got a safe space right now, because I
saw your face you gave him. All right.
Oh my God. But this some good stuff, y'all. Oh my gosh. And so Ashley has a couple of questions here. So
Yeah.
here we go. How do you cope? Or what advice can you give to someone who may be in a relationship and both parties have not?
You want my truth, Ashley? You want to know what I would tell my client? Run. Run and don't look back. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I probably would tell them to run, but I would most importantly tell them to go get help. Right? If you both haven't healed, it doesn't mean you can't have a relationship, but y'all both need to be getting help. Right? And the focus needs to be you and not the relationship. Because how I explain relationships, and most importantly, I explain marriage, but this is the same for relationships. The reality is that there is nothing wrong with the entity. The idea of it is beautiful, right? The identity of marriage, the identity of relationship is beautiful. It was created in beauty. God created that. That's what it was supposed to be, right? So there is nothing ever wrong with it. There is always something wrong with us. We bring in the mess into the relationship. So when I get people to come and they say, oh, my marriage is a mess. No, it's not. You a mess. Your marriage is perfect. Your relationship is perfect. There is nothing wrong with it. Y'all came and bothered it. It was minding its own business over there. Y'all was like, let's do it. They didn't tell you, hey, y'all, I want to be a part. You said, hey, let's be something, right? Like, that's how I have to explain it, because that's the reality of it, right? But then you come with your own ideas, your own beliefs, your own hurts, your own injuries, your trauma. You bring all that in, all unhealed, and try to have something, and then want to blame it on the relationship. Go get you some help. Focus on you. Learn how to communicate. Learn how to love. Not just a person, but yourself. You can't be with someone if you can't be with you. If you can't communicate with yourself, if you can't love yourself, if you can't care for yourself, if you can't be your own peace and provide your own peace, if you can't bring your own happiness, you don't need to be with somebody, because there is nobody's job to do that for you. Their job is not to make you happy. Their job is not to bring you peace. Stop saying that foolishness. I be wanting to get on social media and say some stuff, and I be like, oh, they gonna cuss me out. I ain't gonna say nothing. So I just be scrolling. I be like, and I keep scrolling, because if I say something, they gonna cuss me out. And my emotions, in my feelings, and then Mr. First of all, gonna be having to pat my back to sleep tonight because I'm crying. But the reality is, it is not anyone's job to do any of those things. And here's the kicker: when you ain't married, ain't no obligation. I ain't obligated to do that stuff. I'm not even obligated to stay. I can walk away tomorrow. That's right. And you don't get to feel no kind of way, because I just decided you wasn't the one. Yeah. Right? So I don't even know how I got there, but somebody needed to hear that. Thank you, Lord. But anyway,
what you say? Well, she said she don't know how she gonna carry that name. This is first of all, well, you just saw it.
I just did it. I showed up. Okay.
But what I want to ask, though, would you say that would be in any type of friendship?
Yep.
You know, it would be, yeah. Okay.
Yep. Because the concept is, the idea of all of these things were perfect, right? Like when you think about the idea of a friendship, what people want from it, the expectation, all that's what we're supposed to do as friends. That's pure. Yeah. Everything, all of that is pure. Just like a relationship, it's pure. A marriage, that's pure. That is what we bring. It's because I feel like I shouldn't have to. Because I feel like, I have my sense of entitlement, or 16 friends done hurt me, so I'm finna be the bad friend to this friend here. Like so that when we bring that, then that's when it deteriorates and messes up the ship, whatever that ship is.
That's good. That's good. You have something, because we have one more question. Jasmine, you have something to say, because Ashley had another question up.
Yes. So I'm going to pose two statements. And I just want to know, from a mental health perspective, what are your thoughts? The first one is, the light you carry irritates other people's demons is 1. 2 is what's the other statement? You are what you attract. So those 2, I just need you to hit. I just need you to hit them.
The light you carry irritates other people's demons. This is an accurate statement. On the spiritual side and in the world, right? Because if I'm not happy, I don't want happiness around me. And so that sums it up. If you shining bright, if I go outside, right, and the sun is shining to the point where it is hurting my eyes, I'm gonna have a problem with the sun, right? Like, dang, today you had to be that bright today, right? I'm gonna have an issue. I'm gonna say something. I'm going to express my disgust with the sun. But here's the thing: the sun doing its job. What I'm mad for, right? So yes, that's a true statement, and I have to check myself, because why does it bother me that the sun is doing what the sun is supposed to do? Why am I not focusing on me? If I was focusing on me, I would have went and got my sunglasses. Right? So to that statement. And then the second statement was, say it again.
You are what you attract.
You are what you attract. Yes, you are. You are, just like you are what you eat, right? And if you want different, then you be better, right? When in those 2 statements, they go together, because if I wasn't what I attracted, I wouldn't attract it, because my light would make it go somewhere else. So that's the moment when I have to check myself, because if I don't like the way people are around me, am I being that way? That's the first thing, right? Because that could be that. Because there's another side to that. Because I can already hear the people on Facebook watching it going, everybody that I'm not like all these people. And you're right. You're right. In some cases, you just don't have the ability to open your mouth and set a boundary.
That's good. Let me ask you this though. The reason why I beg to differ with the you are what you attract, because I feel if you have a healing spirit, you're going to attract broken people. Why? Because you once lived there.
You didn't attract them. You didn't attract them. God brought them. There's a difference.
Okay.
So that's not an attraction.
Okay, watch this though. Let me go another place. You just made me forget what I was saying.
I'm sorry.
So hold on. So my thing is, the only way we could be so quickly to identify something in somebody if we once were it or we're now in it.
But that's why you would. So
Spirit.
So that would make the statement true then. Because you were that. So that's why I said there's right. So either
you said you attract what you are.
So you are or you were, but either way you're attracting it because it existed in you at some point.
At some point. Okay. See, again, that's what I'm saying. That's why it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Yeah. So that's my thing too. But the thing about it is, when I talked about when you say that's a God thing, yes, it is a God thing. However, I just know that when she spoke about the people being both parties, right? Both being broken per se, right? Because we have a lot of adults, and I say it all the time, a lot of adults that haven't been healed as a kid.
Yeah.
And they never sought the help. They just kind of buried it. And it goes back to what Jasmine asked earlier too, as far as with parents back then, they probably didn't have a say, and they just had to deal with it. So now gets generational curses. It's just on and on. And a lot of times people don't want to do therapy because they're afraid of, hallelujah, they're afraid of seeing them.
Yes.
See? And they're afraid of, but if you have these hard conversations, then you could be able to see, like, maybe it's not as people, and I try to steer from it, people are not bad people. They just had bad situations to happen to them and don't know how to deal with them, right? Yeah. So now what am I doing? Just because I may have been something in this season, right? And then I have something good coming in this season. I'm going to treat this season like it was last season. And my thing is, what if God did that to you, sweetheart? What if he treated you what he know about you now? You understand? But we're around here not giving grace to other people because we're thinking, like she spoke about, the person should have left. That's just a common thing to say. However, is it the right thing? No. Because like we said, we don't know the situation. We're on the outside looking in.
But that's and that's why there has to be room for the correction, right? So when we talk about the safe space, like someone has to be able to say, hey, that's not the approach. This is not how that works. You can't say that. You can't do this like that. You got to move differently. But if I'm not in the space to hear it, I'm not gonna receive it. And so, Erica, when you're expressing and explaining a lot of this, you know how you're mentioning God, God, God. You got to be in that place with God, because God will have you in a space where you can receive from people, right? And also give in the way that you need to give, or handle or approach or whatever, because you're in a God space, which is really the only safest space. That's the only safe space, God space, right? If we're gonna be real, if we dealing with a human being, it ain't safe, because we're liable to do something stupid, and that's just real, right? Even as a therapist, I'm liable to do something stupid. Why? Because emotion exists in me and feelings exist in me. But the one thing that I learned in my relationship with Christ is he don't move in emotion. He don't move in flesh. So because that don't exist, that's the safest space. Because he just gonna speak. Right? When I speak, I'm speaking with my emotion. And that's the difference.
Don't you think he bring people in our lives to be that safe space? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, we know that you go to God and you talk to God, and that is, like you said, the ultimate safe space.
He brings people, he brings people in our lives to create or mimic the idea of a safe space. But we have to okay, so then that goes with the part of us understanding that anybody can be used both positively and negatively, right? So when he brings somebody to be a safe space, and that person is now my safe space, I then have to know that when they do something that ain't right, I can't hold them, because you're human, right? So I have to always be mindful, because just because God brought you as my safe space don't mean you're going to do everything right, because you're human. You got emotion. You got feelings.
Exactly. That's why when I was going to finish, I was going to say, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be God, but the Bible tells us to be Christ-like. It didn't tell us to be him. So that's what I'm saying. That's when we try to wear God's hats and we try to do God's job. That's when we go to mess it up.
You got to acknowledge that everybody is a human being. And so although we don't want hurt, I would be crazy to not expect hurt. And I have to be able to understand that with everybody who plays a role in my life, if my mom is my mom, yes, I have this expectation of a mother based on the role. But before she is a mother, she is a human. So that means that she's going to say stuff that hurt me. She's going to do things that I don't agree with. And we may bump heads every so often. But I don't take it personal, because she's human. And for every action, there is an equal or opposite reaction. So I have to consider, what role did I play in the space where my mama popped off on me? Because she just didn't get up and pop off. Something happened. Now, maybe it wasn't me, but something happened. And I have to consider the something.
See, you said it. But see, we take it personal. We think it's something that we did. Not knowing it's probably something else they done experienced, been through, or whatever. But we take it so personal. So I'm glad. Oh my God, this is so good, y'all. This is I
want to chime in real quick before we get to Ashley's question. One thing I was thinking about too is we definitely have to be deep in prayer when people come into our lives, because we don't know why they have come.
Yeah.
And my friend and Dr. Erica said this too, but who sent you? Why are you here?
Mm-hmm.
And because some people are not here to be your safe space. Some people are here to play on your vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
Some people are here to compete with you, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to know, you know, who are these people, because you can't be vulnerable. You cannot share everything, as you mentioned earlier. You cannot share everything with people because some people are secretly jealous of you.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you have to be careful. And so in this season, I'm learning more and more how to pray about people,
Yeah.
because that is serious. And
Yeah.
so I know we're going to dive in that deeper and
Yeah.
more workshops coming soon.
Discernment is extremely important, because guess what? I can create in my mind that you came for my safe space. It got didn't nobody send them. I picked them because you made me feel comfortable in a moment. And so because you made me feel comfortable in a moment, I took that as you're supposed to be my safe space. So that's also why it's important that you are spiritually grounded and you're staying in prayer, because you got to have discernment. Because it's not always that some people, like I said, like how I said, relationships over there minding this business. People be over there minding their business. You came with your story and you told the story, and they, because they're kind and genuine individuals, they listened and they showed compassion. But that wasn't your safe space. They just gave you the space to talk because they wasn't gonna shut you up. But you took that as, oh, this is my safe space. And then now you feel some kind of way when they don't have the capacity to hold all you're trying to bring. And so I teach my clients all the time, hey, you got to learn how to tell people, I don't have the space for what you're bringing. I love you and I understand what you're going through, and I can support you how I can support you, but I don't have the capacity to be the way that you need me to be. You got to be able to say stuff like that. Yeah. And people have to accept that, because I don't have to take in your stuff. So when somebody tells you, oh, that's a lot for me, I got so much going on in my life, I can't right now. Don't be looking at them like, well, why you ain't no good friend? What you mean? If I was a bad friend, I would let you give me this stuff. Yeah. A good friend is telling you I can't.
You said that because I used to be that person that used to always get the call. Mm-hmm. Always get the call. And it's just like more and more and more. Mm-hmm. And I was like, dog, and you said that perfectly. Yeah. I don't have the capacity. Yeah. Because many times you don't.
That's emotional.
But you're there trying to be a supportive friend, or you're there trying to show up. But a lot of times you're just trying to make sure your cup stay full.
Yes.
And so that's, man, thank you for saying that.
You know, and I want to piggyback on what you said too about the person secretly jealous or competing against you. If I have to go into a relationship worrying about if you picking, are you competing against me, or you may be jealous of me, I gotta go. Leave me alone, please. Do not. And I repeat, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. If I have to figure, if you're competing or you're just, I'm not going in any ship thinking about nobody competing against me or jealous of me, because I'm just a willing vessel. I'm just here to serve in the capacity God allowed me to serve. But if you got a person in your mind that you think I'm competing, or I want your community, or I'm trying to get something for you, leave me alone, please.
There's some people out there. That's the crazy part about it.
I'm gonna tell you something.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I want, and this is only, I can say what I want. And if I'm telling you, like, come in, no hidden agendas, tell me what you want. If I could do it, I'll tell you yes. Or if I can't do it, I'm gonna tell you no. Or if I don't know, I'm gonna try to get, try to get the answer for you. But here's the thing, Ebony, what happens when you are a natural born carer, right? And you may be going through some things yourself, But when someone's in distress, you drop everything and just go to their aid. You're forgetting about what you got going on now. But you see someone in distress, what do you do?
What do you do as the person who does that? You go get help, because that's an unhealthy trait. And you can't be the savior. So that means that you need help realizing when you can't. Remember how I just said you got to know your capacity? You got to be able to acknowledge it. And that goes back to our first exercise about naming something, right? A lot of the times we're going through stuff, but we try to jump and help other people because we have not accepted and embraced that we're actually going through stuff. Right?
Savior complex.
It's a savior complex. Yeah. It's like you don't realize that, and I mean savior complex, that's received to be so negative, but at the end of the day, it is an issue and it's a problem. But most importantly, the problem is simply because I haven't accepted that I'm in a situation. I haven't accepted that I'm actually going through, because I'm telling myself, push through, be strong, right? So I'm trying to force myself to do the things that I shouldn't do, right? Whether it's because my mama told me I need to, be strong. The people attached to me are telling me you don't have room or time for that. You got to take care of these kids. You ain't got time to be over here crying what you're crying for. You go through all of those things. So because of that, because this is what you're hearing, you turn around and you move that way. So when somebody else comes to you with their problems, your brain doesn't register, girl, you can't do that. You got your own mess. It don't register that, because in your brain, you don't have no mess. You good. You're strong. You're focused. You can handle it. And so this is why you take on someone. It's the same thing with work. Like if you're overwhelmed with a job, you got to acknowledge you overwhelmed. If you don't acknowledge that, your brain is not going to send the message to you that taking on one more thing is too much.
Yeah. Well, like Wendell said, Mr. First of all said he had to wrestle with the flu and 2 broken fingers, right? And this is my thing. This was happening all too often in athletes. They have to do, not that they have to, but they choose to do it, because here's the thing. And I'm glad that the Holy Spirit used me to say that. Not that they have to, but they choose because they want to keep their job, right? So they go out there, they play injured because they don't want to lose their spot. And that is a bad place to be, because guess what? Once you're replaced within seconds. I don't even say minutes. You're replaced in seconds. Okay.
And that's in everything, Erica. Not just you replace that work, you replace in your relationship, you replace. Period. If you go down and you ain't no good, they picking up the next one.
That's it. And that's what I'm saying. This is what's happening. And this is a mental battle. And he was even speaking about the injuries. When you're injured, he said you have suicidal thoughts. Especially if you're an athlete, this is all you know. This is your livelihood. But this is another topic that I think maybe you should bring it to another workshop.
Yeah.
That's why when I saw that, my heart literally sank, because why? You're hearing of so many athletes committing suicide.
Yeah.
Oh, let's go ask a question, last question. And this was good. She says, have you ever helped someone who is going through a health crisis and don't have the space to feel space or express how their health affects them mentally?
I have helped people who, and I'm going to use this term, I have helped people who feel like they don't have a safe space. And the reason why I say they feel that way is because they're unaware of the resources. So a lot of the times, because they don't know that there is something that exists that is safe, they feel like they don't have it. Your safe space is not gonna be your family. So you have to stop trying to make it that. And so when I look at the questions that have been asked to me, I take it that a lot of the times what people do is their expectation is that I'll come to my brother, I'll go to my mom, and I'll tell them how much my body is aching and I'm physically going through this and it's a chronic illness, and you're looking for empathy and sympathy from them. You're looking for compassion, and they're not going to give that. They're not going to give that for a lot of reasons, and it don't make them bad people. They're not going to give that because, number one, they don't even have an idea of what you're experiencing. So even though it is major to you, it's not major to them. So to them, it's like, hey, come on, like you just go to sleep and get up tomorrow and come on, get your rest, take your medicine and keep it moving, right? Like, so you're not going to feel like that's safe because they're not experiencing that like you're experiencing it, right? But they also don't have the capacity or the knowledge to support you the way that you're expecting them to support you. I can't do something I don't know how to do. And a lot of the times we create conflict in our lives with the people who we are connected to because they don't have no clue, and you mad because they don't have no clue. And so, sometimes the light bulb goes off when you make that statement. How am I supposed to show you how to cook if I don't know how to cook? Well, I just thought as your daughter, you'd be able to show. I don't even know how to cook. That's why I was always ordering food. Like, this is the thing. So when you're telling, hey, I just need you to be safe. I don't know how to be safe. No one's ever been safe for me. And this goes back to the community. It goes back to this black and brown stigma that, like, no one knows that. We've all been told to be strong, all the way from the time of slavery. Take that licking and then go cook. Take this little whip and go pull this cotton. Go have this baby and then go back out on the field and work, right? We've been doing since the beginning of time. We have been told to be strong. I feel tired. You not tired. You strong. This is what we've been told. So if the message has always been the same, and then when you need somebody to be there, you're expecting it from them, that's not going it's going to be a little difficult. Go to where people can give it, okay? So so you got to know your resources. And so we don't feel safe because we don't know our resources. I keep seeing Mr. First of All finger go up, and we're in the same room. So I got to mute myself so it don't so it don't make the echo. So go ahead, Mr. First of All.
I see I'm gonna have to get me a yellow flag to throw. Cause y'all women just be beating me up over here. I be sticking my hand up. I be like, God, and I don't have 9 concussions. I can't remember my train of thought. I lost it, but Evan just said something that kind of brought it back. That's why I think it's very important. And it should, I think, coaches and athletes, it should almost be a requirement to go see a therapist because of what Erica said before about a lot of people just don't know what to say because they haven't been given that place to say the right thing. That's why they push the athletes so much because that's what they went through. So I think it's mental health is very important. And I'm gonna take Ashley's words. I know she on here. Like, I wish I would have had this stuff when I was an athlete because I know I probably would have said something about me wrestling with a broke finger the whole season. My coach, hey man, you'll be all right. Me with the flu. They literally called the ambulance for me. I was in Jacksonville, Titusville tournament. And they called the parent because I shouldn't say all that, but I was using the bathroom, the stool was black and everything. I had lost 15 to 20 pounds within 2 days. I didn't eat nothing. My coach had me still get on that scale, weigh in. I won the tournament, but it's just I felt like Michael Jordan when he was, and I won the tournament and everything. But that's something that should have been spoke about. Or the coach should have been more empathetic about, like, what, this man, we had to call the ambulance for him, but I still allow him to compete.
You see, that's you. even at the pro level, it's
Yeah.
crazy. At the pro level,
It's worse.
it's even heightened because here's the thing: if you say something, you're liable to get benched, or somebody else is giving your job.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you said, you wrestled with a broke finger the whole season. You know, your boy played a whole season with a growing injury, and you know when you cutting, you know that yeah, and it was just it. The doctor at the end of the season, the doctor said, like, how did you even go like
Yeah.
that? And Alan told me, he said, you know, some games, he said, I didn't even know if I'll be able to go. It was like right before the game that I was able to go.
Yeah.
Man, when I tell you it was 3 players up there with that same injury, one was a tight end, one was a safety, and then Allen was the receiver. And I'm just like, whoa, these guys really sacrificing their bodies.
Yes, they are. They are.
Right. And it's like you can't really say anything because, hey, I gotta feed my family. You
Yeah.
know? And the
You
thing
can
is,
say something. You just gotta
right.
be willing to lose if you have to lose.
Exactly. And but what God has for you is for you. That's number
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
But the other thing too, you said that oh gosh, now I lost my train of thought. You said something about therapy.
Yeah, that they should be required to.
And they should be required, but I'm gonna tell you something, it's offered.
It
They
is.
just got to go and
They're
use
not
it.
doing it.
And it's
Mhm.
their fault.
But you know what should happen, and I kudos to, she's not on here at all, but I'm gonna give her a shout out. Her name is Dr. Keita Joy. Kudos to her because she has taken the mental health space into pro athlete zone, and so, but not to the athletes, to
Oh,
the coaches, to the staff, training them on the input, because that's where it's at. It's not that the athletes don't know. It's just like Ashley said, the space doesn't exist. And the space doesn't exist because the staff doesn't create the space. And so, and they don't create the space because they don't want to, because but they don't create it because they really don't have the knowledge of what the results
yeah.
or what could happen if we don't care for these things. So they don't realize until they've had some real big whatever after the fact. Like I don't know what the man name is who played for Aaron
Rogers?
no, not Rogers, the one who he's dead now, but he
Oh,
the
damn.
one no, the one who he went to jail is Aaron
Peterson?
no, the little
Yeah.
white boy, Aaron Hernandez.
Oh, Hernandez.
Right. It's not till he done died and he got the CT, they got the image of the CTE that they realized it was some mental effects, like from this, from playing the game that caused this man to go out and kill somebody. Like, like he might have had some issues prior to getting on that field before. And I'm not granted, he did have mental health issues prior, but getting knocked in the head 1,000 times and having so many concussions didn't do nothing but make it worse, right? But it's not until the end, it's not until something has happened that now the staff is like, oh, that's a thing? Oh, that exists. So, you gotta bring it, you have to make it available to people so that they can be knowledgeable.
Yeah. And the
You
thing is,
know?
it's happening so much, you would think that they will speak about it more because even the players that don't left the league, right? They not only have to worry about the CTE and things like that, they have to worry about who they are now, finding out who they
Yeah.
are. And think about that player, Sergio Brown, who killed his mother, allegedly killed his mother.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, and so here's the funny thing, the statement that's gonna make you laugh. Football is the sport that is most up on mental health care. Like they are most informed. Basketball and all that, they're playing through injuries all the time, and the coaches don't, you don't get the sign of the effects. I was watching on Facebook, I was scrolling through, and it was the statement. I don't know this baby name. I think his last name is not Thompson, Halliburton, the boy from who played in the whatever the little championship they just had. And he got injured in the middle of the championship. Wendell know who I'm talking about, Halliburton. Anyway, I think he messed up his meniscus or his ACL or something like that. And he was on the floor. He couldn't play no more. They take him out the game during the championship. He stated that on that moment on the floor, he said, I tried to get up so that I could be like Kobe Bryant was when he was injured the same way and shot the free throw. He said, but when I tried to get up, I just had to fall back down and I felt so defeated. The reality is that they are made to believe they have to be robots. But here's the thing, part of that is not the staff. It is their individual selves telling them that they have to be that way in order to be considered successful. Because, like Wendell just mentioned, he had a Michael Jordan moment where he had to wrestle with the flu, and Michael Jordan played the championship with the flu. So you got athletes comparing themselves to certain things that would be considered impossible to do.
Yeah.
And they're saying, I'm not the best athlete if I can't. I see so much on social media where people who don't play the game, they never picked up no type of nothing to play a game, say stuff like, you ain't no GOAT because you didn't even play. You had a torn ACL and you took the whole season off. But the such and such played and he had to, and it's like, why should that determine your success? And this is you telling me I can't have an emotion.
Right. Think about COVID. I don't know if you guys remember somebody big. I don't want to say his name on here, but somebody big came out and said the guys are soft because they choose to opt out for COVID. But what about these families, these players that have to go home to their pregnant wives or girlfriends?
Yeah.
And things like that. So
yeah.
It's a thing, y'all. So
It's a thing. It's a thing. So we just definitely have to sum it up because it's getting late and I know it's getting late. We just have to do better with our emotional hygiene, And now if you ain't the one that's brushing your teeth every day and you skip baths and you don't wash your clothes, you're not brushing your hair, then I can understand where the neglect would come from with your emotional, because you don't know how to take care of yourself, period. Right. But you can't be dolled up as an individual, well put together as an individual, fresh white teeth, beautiful pink gums, your best physical health. You can't be that and be a mess in the inside. So it's important that we take time to take care of our emotional hygiene. So we have a lot to look forward to next week, if I'm not mistaken. We have our next person that is coming on. I believe I don't have it in front of me. I apologize, but is our champion? Is it Ashley? Is you? I apologize. Yes, we got our very own Dr. Erica Wilson that's gonna be coming up in this space, giving y'all some information that you don't want to miss. And every night that we do a workshop, we coming with some golden nuggets. And I hope that we are being our best for you guys who are watching. But you don't want to miss Tuesdays, Mondays at 7:30. Monday at 7. I gotta get my life together, y'all. Monday at 7:30 with Dr. Erica.
Yes, we will have the young fellow. I'm sure you guys probably saw him all over TikTok, the news, and everywhere else. His mom is training him. Coach, I'm going to ask you to join Alan and I on that session. We will have, I think he's going to the 5th grade.
Yeah.
But his mom, she teaches him. She's training him, y'all. She put him in ice bath, all of that. So she will be our special guest. Her and her son will be our special guest on Monday. And then as my special guest, I will have Mr. First of All and Alan with us, so we can kind of have some fun with this thing. And we're going to take it all the way back to the Little League years, y'all.
Ooh.
Meet us back here on Monday, please, at 7:30. But on Mondays and Thursdays, I need you guys to tell a mom, to tell plenty of moms and their athletes to come on in inside the huddle. You know, we want to see them in Mom's locker room. And as you can see on tonight, our mental health champion, she brought out her playbook. She didn't know how she was going to carry that name, Mrs. First of All. But if you were here on tonight, you got a glimpse of how she did the darn thing. Okay. So we love you here at Moms, and we cannot do this without each and every one of you. Thank you for everyone who commented. Thank you for all who wanted to comment. If you have anything that you would like to ask, please do shoot us an email at info@mothersofmotivatedsons.org, and I'll make sure our mental health champion get it and get you the answer. Y'all, we're a one-stop shop, y'all, so y'all better come on and get inside this huddle. Okay? Let's send them out with some virtual love and some hugs and virtual love. And as you can see, guys, we're gonna have some merch coming out soon. I don't know if y'all can see that, but it's a little old, but we got some merch coming out soon. Mr. First of all, put it in the atmosphere, and God is definitely going to do his thing with it. God bless each and every one of you. Listen, if all hearts and minds are clear, I just have to say, man, you knocked it out. Listen, this one for the book.
Thank you.
This is definitely one for the books. And this is a space where you can see you will get the real, the raw, and the redeemed. However, we still, it's under God's grace, y'all. So show some grace. Tomorrow is 7/25/25. And we all know that the number 5 is what? Grace. All right? Be blessed, y'all. Until next time, we love you guys. Bye-bye.